Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Now today's video is a short comparison between the new Fujifilm X-M5 that we have here, and this is a really nice little compact camera, weighs 355 grams, lovely to use, takes the Fuji X mount lenses, and it has the Fuji 26 megapixel X-Trans sensor inside. And we're comparing that one with the Sony ZV-E10 II that we have here. This has the Sony 26 megapixel sensor inside. It's a Sony E-mount lenses that it takes, and really compact, 377 grams, so a teeny bit heavier, but in practice it's pretty much exactly the same weight as the Fuji X-M5. Size wise they're very similar. Neither of them have a viewfinder. They both have a 3-inch articulating screen. In fact, the specs are almost identical really between the two. You'd be forgiven for thinking they've from the same manufacturer or come out of the same factory, because the specs are very similar. Obviously they are two different manufacturers, and the styling is completely different between the two of them. So this video is a really short video. Well, I say short, a fairly quick video. The handling features of the two, and which one is probably handles better than the other. I think they both handle really well. I like the Sony grip. I do find I can walk around all day long with this camera quite easy, because the grip I can almost hold it like that, you know, without any issues. So I do like the grip on the Sony ZV-E10 II. Much prefer it to the grip on the Fuji X-M5. This, I feel, I'm not quite sure how you would grip that. Although I never had any issues using it all day when we went out for a whole day. We went out for a day, me and Willow went out for the day, taking photographs at our local shopping centre, outlet shopping centre, and our local museum, railway museum, which is just around the corner from the shopping centre. So they both handle very similar, but I do prefer the handling of the Sony ZV-E10 II. Also, the battery life that Willow noticed on the Sony was far superior to the battery life on the Fuji. The Fuji takes the little W126S battery, and the Sony takes the FZ100 battery. There's a much bigger battery. You get, well, at least twice the amount of shots out of a Sony than what you would out of the Fuji. When we got back from a shoot, we had to change the battery in the Fuji, but we still had 60% left of battery life in the Sony, and we were both using the cameras pretty much extensively for photography, not for video. But you would also find that the video would last longer on the Sony than it will do. The battery would last longer on the Sony than it will the Fuji. Image quality is they're almost identical really. It's very difficult to pick between the two of them. I like the photographs that come out of the Sony, I like the photographs that come out of the Fuji. So I will put these images up on my Flickr page so you can take a look at them, a comparison between shots that we took on both cameras. But it's going to be very difficult to pick which ones you prefer. The Sony has more function buttons on the Sony than what it does on the Fuji. That much I do like. I like to be able to set different functions fairly easily, and it's got a master control on the top here for switching between photos, video, and slow and quick motion, where the Fuji has got a traditional PASM dial on the top there for setting aperture, shutter priority, video, and what have you. That's easier to set your aperture and shutter priority modes. With this one, I've pre-assigned a function button on the top of the camera here. Let me just take the lens cap off. I've pre-assigned this button at the top here to be able to switch between which modes you want, whether you want aperture priority, shutter priority, full auto. It comes up, then it comes up. I mean, just to turn the dial to which one that you want. So that's useful, but it's not as quick and as intuitive as what it is on the Fuji. The Fuji has 2 command dials, where the Sony sort of has 2. It's got the one on the back here but I've got set up for setting the aperture if you're in aperture priority, the shutter speed if you're in shutter priority, and what have you. And it's got another one here, little spinning dial on the back of the camera. I've got that set up for adjusting the exposure compensation. So there are 2 command dials, but there isn't one on the front. So that's a bit annoying. Where on the Fuji, it has got a command dial on the back, which is this one on the top here. I've got that one set up for exposure compensation, and the one on the front I've got set up for adjusting the aperture or shutter speed or whatever it might be, depending on what mode you're in. They both have a 3-inch articulating screen. They're both touchscreen for photographs and for the menu, where the Sony is as well, because it's got the newer menu on the Sony, so that's really handy. Now, although this hasn't got a front command dial, it's got this zoom toggle lever, which is great if you've got a lens attached to the camera that is a power zoom lens. So you can actually adjust the zoom just by zooming in and out using the toggle lever. And that is great for one-handed operation when you're out taking street photography, candid photography, whatever you might be doing. That's great if you can control the entire camera just with one hand, like that. You've got your grip, hand around the grip. You can adjust your exposure compensation or aperture or whatever, and you can adjust your zoom here. So that's really handy in terms of the camera on and off. Where the Fuji doesn't have a zoom toggle lever, you actually adjust the zoom with your other hand. So it is a 2-handed operation on the Fuji, and that's fine. I don't have an issue. That's traditional. It's what I'm used to. But on the front command dial, you can push it in to set other settings. But it's a right pain in the bum. I've got that turned off because it is so sensitive that you could knock it and it would knock settings. And particularly when you're gripping the camera, this finger would actually rub up against the button, knock it in, and it would just change settings without you even realising. So I've got that feature turned off because they made it too sensitive. So it's kind of comical, isn't it? The Fuji has a too sensitive button on the front here for adjusting various settings, where the toggle switch on the Sony that I said will do the zoom in is a right pain, because when you're using lenses that don't support power zoom, you keep getting these flipping error messages come up on the screen saying this lens doesn't support this lever, and there's no way in the menu of turning that off, and I find that really, really annoying. It was the same on the original ZV-E10. I was really hoping on the Mark II version, Sony would have at least added something into the menu where you can turn that toggle switch off, or if it detected a lens that wasn't a power zoom lens, it wouldn't automatically try to zoom. So that is a couple of things that I found annoying, but you know, you work around it. It's not a big issue. It's just I found it a bit annoying. They both shoot 4K video, and they're both oversampled, so you get a really nice sharp 4K image. But the Fuji has got various other video features. This has got 6K oversampled, and it's got open gate, where the Sony doesn't support open gate video. That's where it records the entire sensor, and you can reframe the shot, you can reframe the image for either vertical or horizontal when you edit it. But the Fuji does support that. It has got, as I say, all your normal video features, but both cameras have got a tally light on the front and the back, so when you are filming video, I'll show you on both. But on the Sony, if we put it into video mode, turn the camera on, we put it into video mode, as I say, using this little lever there. So that little lever will switch between slow and quick motion video. So when we're in video mode and you hit the record button, you've got your tally light, a bright tally light on the front of the camera. So the person you're filming can see that it is recording, or you can if you're in front of a camera. But it's also got the red record frame around the monitor as well, so you can actually see that it is recording. Fantastic feature. Honestly, when you're doing content on your own and you're doing everything yourself, that is an amazing feature. Many times over the years, I thought the camera was recording when in fact it wasn't. Like my Sony A7C hasn't got that feature. So I can never be 100% certain that it is actually recording. Where my Fuji X-H2 has got a telly lamp on, I can see that that is recording. The same on my Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, I can see that that is recording. The Fuji, again, has exactly the same feature, and it does it in pretty much the same way. Hit the record button, and then you've got a tally light, different colour, but you've got a tally light on the front there showing that it is recording. You've got a tally light on the back, little red light on the back, but you've also got your 3-inch articulating screen with the red record frame around the actual screen, and it is a bright red record frame on this one, probably a little bit brighter than it is on the Sony, to show that it is actually recording. Neither camera have a video record limit, so that is really handy, certainly for me, because I do, you know, a lot of content, and it's not, it's really annoying when I have a 30-minute record limit, because I had to be really conscious to get it all done in 30 minutes. Now I can keep on talking. If I make a mistake, it doesn't matter, keep on going, then I can edit that out in the edit, and I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, no video record limit. The Fuji does support the Fuji fan for keeping it cool if you're in hotter temperatures or you're doing long form content. That doesn't bother me. The Sony doesn't support any fans, but I've got the Ulanzi fan. I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video. I can put the Ulanzi fan on the Sony, or even on the Fuji, if I think it's going to overheat. These small camera bodies do tend to get hot, certainly get warm, because they're small bodies. They don't dissipate the heat so well. Yeah, that is, you know, one thing. The Fuji does support the Fuji fan. Not an essential feature for me. Battery, as I say, goes in the bottom here, and the SD card goes in the bottom, where the Sony, much better placement for the SD card is in the side of the camera. So they've put the SD card slot on the side of the camera on the Sony, and the reason why I say that's much better, again, because I'm doing a lot of work in the studio here, it's great that I don't have to take the camera plate off the camera, and I don't have to take it off its tripod. So there's two things I don't have to do there, because the SD card slots into the side there, which is really, really awesome. But on the plus sides of the Fuji, is the mic jacks and headphone jacks on the same side on the Sony as the monitor comes out. So that's quite annoying, because cables obscure the actual monitor. But what they've done on the Fuji is put the mic jack on the back of the camera. So the mic jack is on the back here, so it doesn't obscure the monitor when you've got a microphone plugged in. And that's great for when you're doing your vlogging, but the mic will go in there and it just go into the shoe. So that is awesome. The Sony has the Sony multi-interface shoe on the top there, and that will take Sony microphones, its wireless microphone, all sorts of microphones you can plug into there, and the XLR adapter will go into that, and that is awesome. You don't need to use cables. So with these Sony microphones, you don't have to worry about cables, losing cables. The microphone takes power from the camera as well, so you don't have to worry about batteries. So that's a great feature I find with Sony cameras, is its multi-interface shoe. The Fuji has a multi-interface shoe, but the only thing I have the audio-wise that works with the Fuji is a Tascam XLR adapter that slots into here. Again, you don't need to power it. It takes the power from the camera, and then you can feed in XLR microphones into the camera. Like I'm running here, my X-H2 has got the Tascam XLR adapter in it. I mean, I've got my Sennheiser MKE 600 plugged into it, so I'm receiving XLR microphone feed straight into my X-H2. Well, you can do that with the X-M5. So, yeah, quite handy. But image quality, as I say, is going to be very similar from both cameras. Both lenses are very similar as well. Both kit lenses are extremely similar, even in size and weight. I like the look and the feel of the Sony one better, but I mean, what does that matter? It doesn't really make any odds, does it? But both cameras are, you know, really, really good. And the lenses, as I say, are very, very similar, you know, to each other. So you're not going to find you know, a great deal of difference there. And the image quality, I'm not going to go into any detail on these images because, as I say, I would recommend that you look at them on Flickr rather than looking at them here. But if we just look at a couple here, I mean, not identical images either, because Willow was taking some, I was taking some, so I wasn't watching what she was taking and vice versa. But we can see here that, you know, images are very similar between the two. Sharpness, very similar between the two. Now, these are both the raw images. Neither of these have been edited. The one on the right is for Sony, the one on the left is the Fuji. And again, how do you pick between them? The reds have come out really good. The text is really sharp on both of the kit lenses. You know, not cheated on either of them. They're both shooting with their respective kit lens. You can see here the XC15 to 45, it says there, and there's the EPZ 16 to 50. So, you know, very similar. And as I say, the only reason I'm comparing these two, because they sell for a very, very similar price. And the video specs are almost identical for the two of them as well. So there we go. That's a quick look at the comparison between the Sony and the Fuji. But the Sony does have a really, really nice grip. And it has a much longer battery, although just shove a spare battery in your pocket if you're taking the Fuji out with you. But the Fuji, I think, is the sexier of the two. It looks prettier, if that's what's important to you. The handling is great on both of them, but I do like the handling of the Sony. Hope you found that interesting. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Hit the like button if you like the content of this video. Would really appreciate that. It does help me grow the channel. And share this video if you think anyone else might find this video interesting. So there we go. Thanks very much. Cheers for now. Bye.